Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Ich warte seit Wochen auf diesen Tag und tanz vor Freude über den Asphalt. Als wär's ein Rhythmus, als gäb's ein Lied, das mich immer weiter durch die Straßen zieht. Komm dir entgegen.
Hello and welcome to Gegenpressing, the Bundesliga podcast. I'm Manu and he's Stefan Biankowski, and he's sitting right next to me. Hey, Stefan.
Yeah, I am. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Yeah, it's those who have listened to the bonus show, of course, on the Substack know that I did make it to Hamburg. I know I left us at a little bit of a cliffhanger on the last show, and where I was actually able to escape snowy Munich, and I did. I guess the big question was if I'm going to make it back on Friday.
Yeah, and if you're going to be able to get to this weekend's games, hopefully.
Yeah.
There's talk of more snow today, I think.
Oh.
But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. We're just discussed before the show that you might have to take the car because your faith in the German public transport system is at an all-time low.
It's very low, yeah. Also, there's a Deutsche Bahn strike Thursday and Friday now, which is just great, considering that they completely let us down in Bavaria, trying to leave Munich. Now they decided that, after just getting back to work, that they want to take off work again. I'm pro-union, but timing. Read the room, guys. This is not it. But yeah, anyways, I'm hopeful to be able to make it back on Friday to Munich. I'm flying, so hopefully I can make it back there. But it's been a productive few days. We've been watching a bunch of games together yesterday, and then of course we have meetings today. We have a Transfermarkt Christmas party to go to, and I'm worried. Both of us have to sing.
Yeah, there's this absolutely horrid tradition where the new members of staff have to sing. Even though you've been here for a number of years now, man.
It's for 4 years.
First Christmas party you've been able to go to because of COVID and things. But it's needless to say, we're going to have to start drinking quite heavily from about 3 p.m. onwards, so we have a bit of Dutch courage to sing later on.
Did you see that the kitchen is stacked full of beer?
Yeah, well, I'd expect nothing less from Transfermarkt.
It looks good. It's backs though.
Yeah.
Yes, anyways. We have a bunch of games to discuss, so let's jump right into it after this break. The holiday season is off and rolling with NFL in full stride and the NBA and NHL hitting mid-season form. BetOnline is your number one destination for all your sports wagering info, with up-to-the-minute sports wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. BetOnline is the top spot for everything pro sport and amateur sports. And not just the big four. BetOnline has info available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time for almost any sport that is played, from MMA to international soccer. Head to the BetOnline today and remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, BELIEVE for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Yeah, Stefan, match day 14 it is. Friday kickoff, Hoffenheim against Bochum. The Bundesliga continues its tradition of not putting the best game on Friday. In fairness, there was Pokal. We had lots of Pokal drama. So if you wanna listen back to that, that's on the Substack now. But Hoffenheim against Bochum. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah. So I mean, we say it's not exactly a fantastic game, but it should be an intriguing game because you've got a Hoffenheim side who aren't playing very well, and I did really think that last week result against Gladbach was going to be the one that kind of made or break what's going on at Hoffenheim right now because, as I discussed in last week's show, they're not in a great run of form, but they have been able to kind of rely on that away form, which just didn't really seem to happen, and they lost 2-1 to Gladbach. They've now gone 4 games without a win. He's kind of Materazzo is, I think he said last result was maybe unnecessary or something, but they are definitely struggling for form, and their home form has not been great recently. And they come up against a Bochum side who are actually scraping together a decent run of form. They're unbeaten in the last 5 Bundesliga games, which is the longest run they've gone since promotion, unbeaten, which is interesting, since 2021. And the stat that I think should get people excited about this game is that in the last 8 head-to-heads between these two teams, there have been on average 3.75 goals per game. So
maybe not boring.
Not boring. It should be a good contest. I've gone for a draw here, but I'm going to go for an exciting one. I had initially wrote down 1-1, but I've changed it to 2-2 because I think it's going to be a really fascinating match, which should see Bochum continue unbeaten run and Hoffenheim still kind of searching for a return to form.
I actually have Hoffenheim get their return to form here.
Yeah.
At home, 2-1 is my tip. I just sense that whenever there is a run like that for a side like Bochum, and when they, that it will end sooner rather than later. If you're a small team that is kind of fighting off relegation 5 games in a row, unbeaten is a long time, and sooner or later the odds just go the other way. And I feel too that Hoffenheim are due a win. It's really just. I had a really hard time separating them because of many of the things that you said, and that's when I usually rely on my gut instinct, and I just feel that Hoffenheim will do a win, and that's not the best analysis here, but that's what I'm going with. So I have this as a 2-1 win, but Bochum have been remarkable, and this run has been really, really impressive, and in particular at home, right? Which is also one of the reasons why I think like this could end here because they're going away. But let's see. The amount of goals that get scored in this game is fascinating and maybe makes this worth watching on a Friday night. But interesting. All right, so that gets us to the first Saturday game, and I'm going to put this out here. Union Berlin are finally going to win a game.
Bold call.
Bold, I know.
Why don't you explain your reasoning behind it, and we'll take it from there.
So the number one reason is that Union have won their last 4 games against Gladbach, and they had 2 weeks off. I think that is something that will actually really, really help them. Bielitsa, the new head coach, he's going to have finally had some time to work with this team. I know they were, and the other thing is too, they were actually in Munich, stuck like me, training at 1860s ground, which is not necessarily the foundation of success, but there were some great pictures this week with Kevin Volland training 1860. Of course, he's an 1860 product, right? And there was a lot of good pictures with him. The entire team stuck in the snow doing snowball fights in Munich, far away from Berlin. But you know what? I think that helps. That's almost like a little mini training camp, and being away from that negativity.
A ski trip abroad.
Yeah, no, it kind of is. It felt like that. The photos that got leaked and the way they were working, because the facilities at 1860, of course, a chaos club, and the game on the weekend unfortunately got cancelled. But I'm still gonna write about them next week, so don't be worried. But their facilities are really nice, and so I think it's a really good opportunity for a few of these players to kind of reset, and I think that was really, really necessary. I think if they had played Bayern last Saturday and got smashed, my prediction here would be very different. But I feel like this 2 weeks will have done them a world of good. And I think they were going to turn around their fortunes here and win 2-1.
Yeah, it's a pretty compelling argument, to be honest with you. I struggle to separate these teams. There's something about Gladbach that kind of makes me think Siona's slowly but surely kind of getting a tune out of this team. The amount of goals in their games recently have been remarkable. And I'm actually going for the opposite result, which, believe it or not, is actually quite just as unprecedented as an Union Berlin win, because leading into this game, Gladbach have only won 2 of the last 25 games in the Bundesliga, which is just bonkers.
Did you watch the Pokal game?
Yeah, well, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know why. I just feel like Union are still not out of the woods yet. It's a very tight game, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for Gladbach.
Okay, all right. Up next, Frankfurt against Bayern. Love this game. But what do you think here?
I think this is one of the easier ones to predict, to be honest. Frankfurt weren't great in the Pokal midweek, which we talked about in the bonus show. Their run of form recently has been very below par. They look like a team who are now just kind of grinding into the winter break in first gear with a flat tire, smoke coming up from under the bonnet, just kind of desperately hoping to get to the break and just kind of take stock of things. And I feel like Bayern come to town isn't going to help that. So I've gone for a very comfortable 2-0 win for Bayern, who also had an extended period of time off, so they should be pretty strong.
It's an interesting question though. Is that 2-week period helping Bayern or not? Because while that might really help Union Berlin, for Bayern Munich that might actually not be as beneficial. I still think they're going to win this game. I think 2-1. But having said that, it's because of Frankfurt's home stadium. I've been to Frankfurt games against Bayern in the Waldstadion, and I was there when Frankfurt famously beat them 5-1 and Niko Kovac got fired the next day. And I just know what a special occasion the Frankfurt Stadium can be whenever Bayern Munich are in town. I also think that the Pokal exit is actually going to put some fire into this team. You know, the reaction by sporting director Markus Krösche was very harsh. I do think there's going to be a bit of a reaction by Frankfurt. I just don't think it's going to be enough to beat Bayern Munich. And so I went for a 2-1 Bayern Munich win, which, means Bayern are back on track. They haven't been, Bayern Munich haven't been scoring that many goals lately. That's the other thing. Yeah. One against Köln, right? Of course, then the game last week got cancelled. But they also they scored 4 against Heidenheim while conceding 2. But it hasn't been like they have been a goal scoring machine. 0-0 against Copenhagen, right? It's a bit of an odd one right now that they're not necessarily the most prolific goal scorers. So that's why I think this is going to be a bit more narrow. Yeah. But I think this is really a game worth tuning into as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Really fascinating game. Okay, up next, Wolfsburg against Freiburg. That's the Wolfsburg owe me 120 minutes and Gladbach owe me 120 minutes from the midweek game, and I think Kovac is in trouble. Yeah, I think he's really, really in trouble, and I think that Freiburg are gonna beat this side 2-0, and I think that could maybe be the beginning of the end there.
Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to agree with you, to be honest, because Wolfsburg's home form has really been the only thing that's been their kind of saving grace recently. They've got just one defeat at home this season. They've won 5 and drawn 1 as well. And if that was to fail them this weekend, you'd really have to wonder what's going on with Niko Kovac. I was actually talking to one of our French colleagues last night about Kovac's time at Monaco and how he's regarded there, and he said there's a degree of ambivalence. There's no kind of hard feelings or anything, just because Monaco are always known as this kind of basket case club. And we were discussing the manner in which he's picked 2 clubs in Monaco and Wolfsburg who aren't exactly famous for being safe hands or comfortable places to nurture a young coaching career, but it feels like Kovac at Wolfsburg is either feast or famine. They're either in a great run of form or their hair's on fire and they're running around the place, and right now it's the latter. And I feel like Freiburg will probably have picked them off. I'm going for a very narrow 1-0 win for Freiburg, which could spell the end for Kovac. Yeah. Maybe the club might be able to wait until the winter break and see where it stands with things from there. But if their home form begins to falter now, then they could end up in free fall.
Yeah, I mean, I did cover that in the Monday Bulletin, right? Some reactions from Wolfsburg, and obviously since then it's only gotten worse. Bastian Schweinsteiger made an interesting comment after the Pokal match. Yes, I did manage to watch 120 minutes and then also watch Bastian Schweinsteiger's commentary and then jump on a flight the next morning. I don't sleep much, but he said that football is so cruel because Jonas Wind has that chance, right, and if Wolfsburg wins, no one would talk about Kovac anymore, and now because they lost, because Manu pops up and scores in the 120 minute to knock out Wolfsburg out, it's full crisis mode now, and it will probably cost us his job. And I thought it was really, he's right. I mean, it's such little margins, and right now they're just trending really heavily against against Niko Kovac. Werder against Augsburg. Stefan.
Well, I feel like this is one that you should take the lead on since you wrote your newsletter on Augsburg.
I did, and Augsburg are unfortunately very good right now. I mean, they're fourth since Torup has taken over. Point average, 2.00. That's 68 points over the full season, which is enough to get into the Champions League. They're 6 points off a European spot at the moment. They have been... It's kind of hard to pinpoint it. You know, they play good football, but it's not spectacular. I think it's the best way to describe it. It's very structured. The numbers kind of highlight that too. Although I did point that out in my newsletter as well, that a lot of the numbers are still kind of skewed of his predecessor, Enrico Maaßen, and we'll still need to have some time to get a clearer picture, right? But they're hugely efficient. They're the 7th most efficient team in German football at the moment. They play a style that I think... The Frankfurt game really exemplified that. When the lead got cut into half, they just kept playing rather than relying on a defensive kind of structure. And I think that is how Torup ticks in a lot of ways. And, you know, it's the little things too that, and I pointed this out in the newsletter, so I don't want to get into detail, but he's really managed to kind of get a team spirit going there. And the thing that I mentioned in the newsletter as well, that these next 3 games are going to kind of define where the journey is going to go for Augsburg, right? First it's Werder Bremen, then it's Dortmund, and then it's Stuttgart. This might sound daft, but these next 2 games for Bremen are probably the easier ones. But I for Augsburg, I mean, because Dortmund hasn't exactly been good, and Dortmund don't like playing against Augsburg either. Yeah. But I do think that Augsburg are going to win this game against Bremen 2-1.
Yeah, I've actually gone for the exact same result.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with you. Augsburg do look good. We've talked about them a lot, whether in the bulletins or in the podcast recently, because of the head coach change. And I did say at the time that I felt like their underlying stats did suggest a team who are playing better than results suggested, and obviously Torup's managed to get a little bit more out of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, they come up against a Bremen side who are in real trouble. Their only 3 wins this season have come against Union, Cologne and Mainz. They are currently sitting just 2 points above the relegation spot or the playoff spot above Darmstadt. And yeah, really struggling to see how they're going to turn around. The problem for Werder Bremen is they just continue to ship so many goals. And, you know, when a team's maybe not picking up points, but they're grinding out results, and, you know, it's maybe the lack of goals scored, but they're keeping clean sheets, that's one thing. But a team that are just shipping goals constantly really makes you wonder how they can turn things around. That has to be their main priority between now and the end of the year, actually, if they are going to try and pick up some points, because there's a good chance that they'll finish 2023 in or amongst those relegation spots, because I've gone for a 2-1 win to Augsburg as well, and yeah, I do fear for Werder Bremen going forward.
Yeah, totally. Werder Bremen, of course, going to have a close eye on this next match, which is Heidenheim against Darmstadt. I think this Heidenheim team is going to beat Darmstadt, which is of course good news for everyone else down there, right? Because Darmstadt are sitting in that playoff spot. But, you know, I think quality-wise, not much separates them, but Schmidt is one of the best head coaches in German football. Yeah. I think that much is established. He's done an incredible job. He's getting a lot of players. Tim Kleindienst is the second best German scorer in any of the top 5 leagues. Yeah, you know, and that includes a list of players like Kai Havertz, etc. You know, that tells you everything you need to know about this Heidenheim side. I wouldn't be surprised if they stay in the league.
Yeah, and you know, when it comes to Heidenheim, the key is to kind of look at that home form. Yeah. That's what got them promoted. That's what got them playing so well in the Zweite Bundesliga over the last couple of years. And it's what's kept them out of trouble this season. I think 92% of their points won at home, won in general, have come at home this season. And they come up against a Darmstadt side whose winless run right now is second only to Union Berlin's. You know, they've drawn 2 and lost 4. Second longest winless run in German football right now. In the Bundesliga. And Yeah, I completely agree with you. I've gone for a 2-0 win here to Heidenheim because, and it's a huge 6-pointer.
Yeah.
It's a game which, as you said, Werder Bremen, and I think most clubs in that bottom half of the table will be keeping a close eye on because I think the really interesting thing as well actually is that even though Heidenheim have managed to kind of keep out of trouble, their actual points total since promotion is actually quite low. I think only Greuther Fürth have picked up fewer points as a promoted side.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's currently 4 teams below Heidenheim just shows how many teams are struggling this season. You know, and the fact that Cologne, Mainz, and Union Berlin are all down there has been a bit of a blessing for the likes of Heidenheim, Darmstadt, Bremen, Bochum, and yeah, I don't expect that to really change. I think Heidenheim will probably get a really important 3 points this weekend.
I mean, there's a real separation in the table at the moment, right? With the top 5 being, I mean, even Dortmund with 25 points, you know, and Leipzig with 26. Those 2 teams are not even the top 3.
Yeah.
You know, Stuttgart with 30. I mentioned the stat on the bonus show that like since 1995-96 only there were 24 teams reached 30 points at this point of the season, and 12 of them won the title. And this year you're only third with that. So you know, it's just really interesting. So yeah, I think there's a huge separation between the top and the bottom, which means that the bottom teams, even though like Köln with 9 points, are not in a relegation spot, which is kind of crazy. And I reckon that will even out a little bit. But yeah, we'll see. Speaking of the top, Dortmund against Leipzig. This is your match of the week.
Yes, it is, because we've got 2 teams here who aren't exactly on form.
No.
You know, in terms of points won in the last 5 games, Leipzig are 4th, Dortmund are 12th. In terms of home form for Dortmund, who are obviously playing at home, they're 5th in the table. Leipzig, who are playing away, are 7th in the table for points won on the road. 2 teams here who should be probably 2nd, 3rd in the league, but you know, just aren't really anything quite like that at all. And I think there could be repercussions for one of these coaches more so than the other. But I mean, at the same time, I guess it's hard to. I'm trying to think of like the best way to contextualize this, because even though they're still 4th and only 6 points off Bayern, I do kind of feel like RB Leipzig and Marco Rosa have kind of flown under the radar in terms of avoiding criticism, which one could argue is just a case of being a Leipzig head coach, and it's one of the benefits, I guess, that they don't have the same media scrutiny like Dortmund or Bayern, or even more traditional clubs like Hamburg and Schalke, and Stuttgart too, I guess. But you know, there's maybe some raised eyebrows as to, you know, Leipzig are really dropping silly points in recent weeks, but undoubtedly, you know, everyone will be watching this game to see how Dortmund respond after a humbling defeat to Stuttgart midweek, which we talked about in the bonus show, where Stuttgart very comfortably kind of disbanded of them. And there's been a lot of talk, there's been a lot of kind of murmurs and raised voices and speculation over what's going on at Dortmund. We did our transfer roundup show on the fact that, you know, Stanic, Watzke's right-hand man, was sacked in midweek. There's Daniel Malin consistently been linked with moves away from the club. If Dortmund don't respond to all that with a decent performance on Sunday, you have to really question what's going on there and what will happen in the coming weeks. I did see one Dortmund fan on a forum I was on say it'd be very Dortmund for us to go and win this game 4 or 5-0 just to prolong the kind of malaise that has kind of set in this season. I can totally see that happening. But my own result is actually a 2-2 draw, which will suit neither team. So I've gone for a 2-2 draw here.
I actually think Dortmund are going to lose this game.
Yeah?
Yeah, I went for a 2-0 Leipzig win. I think that Dortmund are going to come out aggressively. I think they're going to, you know, do what they did against Bayern, and I think Leipzig are going to love it.
Okay.
They're going to just love it. And that's been, you know, we saw it with when Dortmund came out and threw out all fundamentals against Bayern Munich, and within 8 minutes that game was over.
Yeah.
And I expect something very similar here. I expect that Dortmund are going to come out guns blazing. Leipzig are going to absorb the pressure. They're going to hit them on a few counter-attacks. And this might be over pretty quick. I went for a 2-0 Leipzig win. Which of course then also means that Dortmund at this point have to hope that Germany continues their good run in European competitions and get the 5th Champions League spot, because that's a 6-pointer for the Champions League.
Yeah.
Leipzig win this, they will be on 29 points. Dortmund will remain at 25. That's a 4-point gap. So that's a lot. And I don't think Stuttgart are going to, the numbers just speak so much for Stuttgart reaching the Champions League spot at this moment that it's going to be very hard to get into that top 4 if they don't win it. So, yeah, I think the crisis is going to continue there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only thing I can really say is maybe if Dortmund can revert to that kind of ultra defensive system, which saw them get a point against Leverkusen last weekend, and seen them do well against in Champions League. But yeah, I don't hold out a huge amount of hope for them. But I guess we'll have to see what happens. They tried it
against Stuttgart too, and it didn't work at all.
Yeah, true.
I mean, it takes the analytic teams of Bundesliga sides are huge, especially like Leipzig. They will have taken one look at that Leverkusen game and said like, it worked for 90 minutes, but we can decipher this.
Yeah, exactly.
So bad news keep coming. All right, Stuttgart against Leverkusen. This is my game of the week. I had a really hard time predicting it. I'm immensely looking forward to it because I'm gonna go to it. Probably drive to it, as you mentioned. And both these teams look really good midweek. Stuttgart have been very impressive for weeks now. Yet I think that the way Stuttgart actually play is going to slightly favor Leverkusen. I don't think Stuttgart have it in them to play with 2x5 defensive lines, right? I do think this is going to be a hugely entertaining game, and I do think that Leverkusen are going to just edge it 2-1.
Yeah, I've gone for something similar. I've gone for a 3-2 win for Leverkusen in the sense that I've gone a tight game, lots of goals. But yeah, I think man for man, Leverkusen are the better team. I think Stuttgart have shown that they're very capable of kind of punching up, very capable of beating good teams, but also sometimes when they come up against decent sides, they do kind of get played through at times, and I think this Leverkusen team are definitely capable of doing that. So I've gone for 3-2. I think it's going to be a great game to watch on Sunday. I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully you'll get to it, hopefully by plane, train or automobile. Let's see what happens. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game. And that's just like, it's also just worth noting that if Leverkusen are still top of the league after a really difficult run of fixtures recently, and a comprehensive Pokal win as well, it's worth noting. We did say on the bonus show, we talked about the Florian Wirtz injury. It looks like he should be okay for Sunday. A few defenders were also rested in midweek. An entire backline, in fact, and goalkeeper were rested in the game against Paderborn. So yeah, could be a relatively fresh Leverkusen side, and Patrick Schick returned as well, who's looked good in the two games he's played so far. So yeah, I think Stuttgart will do well here to get a point, but I don't suspect they will. Undav
and Goriassi against Schick and Boniface.
Yeah.
Maybe my 2-1 was a bit conservative. All right, final game of the week, Köln against Mainz.
Yeah, I've gone for... This is just... It feels almost like an anticlimax that the weekend finishes on this.
I'll be on the road somewhere.
I've gone for a 1-0 Mainz win here just because they have looked better in recent weeks. They look like they are slowly but surely beginning to pull themselves out of that bottom three. Yeah. And in contrast, again, I still have very little hope for this Cologne side. They seem to be in a bit of a mess as well. So, again, another kind of relegation 6-pointer almost potentially. But yeah, I've gone for a 1-0 win for Mainz.
I went for 1-1.
1-1 to Mainz.
1-1 to Mainz, yeah. It's a late Sunday game. It's cold, snowy. No one wants to be there. Köln stadium atmosphere is going to be good, I guess. But yeah, I just
go to the Christmas market.
I guess so. Drink some Glühwein.
You might need a lot for this game.
You might need a lot. Pre-drink. It's late and it's going to be cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't think this is going to be spectacular. This is going to be a typical Sunday night 1-1 draw. Anyways, that does it from us for today. As always, this show is brought to you in association with Get German Football News. They're fantastic and posting this. Stefan is up 1 point again. Yeah, I checked. And I think you maintained that lead last week too, so have to see. And also brought to you by our sponsors BetOnline. We'll be back next week, more regular schedule because I'm in Munich, you'll be back in Scotland. Pray for us at the Christmas party, we both have to sing. No cell phones allowed though, thank God. And we'll be back next week. Until then, auf Wiedersehen.
Und kein Ende in Sicht. Kein Ende in Sicht.
As a major research institution, Arizona State University offers the most online bachelor's degree programs, along with world-class faculty and dedicated support. Discover why ASU is ranked #1 in innovation for 9 consecutive years. Tap to learn more.